I've, 35M, been with my GF, 44F, for 9 months. When we met she was open about the fact that she had fully separated from her ex and that they would be starting official divorce proceedings. Those started around 1 month ago and it's basically in the early stages. Yesterday we were talking about work Christmas parties and she told me her workplace are currently running a poll where the options were, go alone, go with your partner, or say you're not going. When I asked what she was thinking of doing, she said she needed to talk to her ex-husband about it because she was going to take him if that option won because she didn't want to go and sit alone while everyone else was there with their spouses. Obviously I reacted pretty badly to this. She said she couldn't bring me because nobody there knew about me, us. She had started her job about 3 months before we met and everyone there was basically under the impression that she was still married as that's how things had been when she joined, and she didn't like lots of people knowing her business, separating, divorce, etc. So she just went along with it. She said that bringing me would therefore be weird and she temporarily wanted everything to still look normal by bringing him. I questioned why she would need to go and pretend to essentially strangers. She could easily just go on her own instead and she told me I didn't understand how difficult it was for her. She told me I was making it all about me by asking to be prioritized. In my eyes it was just consideration. That I was acting irrational and being jealous and that she didn't have to run any of her decisions by me. She then started crying, hung up on me and texted me to say she wanted space for a few hours, but she hasn't been in touch since and that was 24 hours ago. I haven't reached out because I feel I haven't done anything wrong. I feel really horrible about her wanting to take him along so easily because it feels like she has not considered my feelings about it. We didn't have a conversation about it, she just told me, and so to me it feels a little disrespectful to me and our relationship. I know we've not been together long either so maybe I have no right to be involved in her decisions but I would expect to at least have a convo about that because that decision does directly affect us. I also don't understand why she needs to go and pretend to people she doesn't really know and why she wouldn't have just been able to take that opportunity to explain but I don't know if I am just being selfish like she said. AITA? I've never been married so I don't know if I have just majorly downplayed everything and been inconsiderate. Honestly appreciate everyone's advice and opinions. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for their responses. I never expected to get so many and I read all of them, yeah, even the painful ones. There were some great pieces of advice, perspective and wisdom so I really appreciate everyone's comments. Second, there were a lot of repeating questions that I didn't answer in the post because it all moved way too quick. So I wanted to answer those now in case those commenters were still wondering. Who filed and did I definitely know they were divorcing? My ex-GF had always made out that she had begun proceedings. Honestly, I don't know for definite that they are, but she did have a few meetings with a lawyer when I was with her and she'd moved into her own place in March, so to me all the signs pointed that way but of course it may not have been the truth. Why would her ex-husband agree to go? This is a solid question and if I'm honest from what she told me about him, I genuinely don't think he would have. One of the reasons she gave for their marriage collapsing was that he became more antisocial and introverted and stopped wanting to go anywhere and do anything with her. I think that's why it felt worse, because if she was telling the truth about him, she was willing to take someone who had previously on multiple occasions said he didn't want to go and do things. If I'm honest on reflection I think that this is an example of her refusing to face reality and clinging onto her old identity. Thank you so much to the commenters who gave me this insight. She just thought he'd agree because previously he probably always begrudgingly has and she hadn't appreciated or logically thought about the weight of what she would be asking. If it was me, I certainly would have said no like everyone else said they would too. So on to the update, we split up. Thanks to all the perspectives here I text her to say that I hoped she was okay and that the space had given me time to reflect on the situation. I explained that I could see things from her perspective and what her intentions might have been, but that I was hurt that she hadn't felt she could communicate that with me first as if she had. The outcome might have been different and we could have worked something out. However, I felt her behavior in calling me selfish and the not running decisions by me etc. was disrespectful and inconsiderate and that was now my major problem in moving forward with the relationship. She replied to say that if I was going to just bring another source of pain and stress to her life then I may as well go because I was still making the whole thing about me and my feelings and not appreciating her not breaking apart at the seams while her life did, so she'd be taking more space until I decided what I wanted. Thanks to all of you I realized how invaliding and again, manipulative that was, so I told her we'd make the space permanent and wished her all the best. Her response was just, okay, and asking if she could still use my Netflix password. So, I changed it, then she texted again a little while later asking why I changed it and could I put it back because it had locked her out of a show she was watching. So I had a good laugh to myself about the irony of decision-making without running it by her, and didn't respond. On to better things and a definite lesson learned for the future in seeing the red flags. I also just wanted to thank the commenters who have lived it and shared their experiences. It did make it easier to understand what her motivations, intentions might have been for carrying on as normal. As I said in a previous comment, she had had a bad experience with a previous job and was out of work for some time in between. I also knew she was nervy about this one as it was beginning to ramp up. I can see why she may have obfuscated the truth so that her employers didn't think she had any personal distractions which might have stopped her being at her sharpest. Where we live you need 2 years to be safe from being fired and she was only a year in. I can totally get why someone suddenly on their own with individual finances, plus lawyer fees and divorce settlement, if true, fees would not want to risk their income suddenly being shut off or being back out of work for a long period. Having said that, I also agree with everyone that there's a difference between obfuscating the truth and showing up with your ex and essentially playing pretend when there was the option of going alone and just making an excuse for them. Though I guess I can also see why maybe that would feel awkward or uncomfortable being surrounded by others. End of the day, if she had come to me and explained, maybe we could have worked it out. However, she didn't, and everyone was right that her behavior and attitude towards me, the situation was incredibly disrespectful and problematic in the end.